I just found a video that disturbed me, and I'm not sure what to make of it. For context, I recently got into metal detecting. I know, it's an old man hobby and whatnot, but it looked like fun. I live on the west coast and by the beach, so that works out, and I can easily lose track of the time combing through the sand. Almost every day I do it, I find something cool, and I usually make a few bucks as well. I wasn't having much luck this morning though, and about 90 minutes went by before I found even a coin. Something caught my attention from the corner of my eye though, glinting on the water. It was a glass jar, and inside it was an iPhone. It washed onto the shore just as I was standing there, like it was meant for me to find. And yet when I opened the jar and took the phone out, I looked around. It almost felt like it was too cool for me to be allowed to find it. No one was around, but I still wanted to do this from the privacy of my own house, maybe subconsciously judging myself for wanting to go through someone's phone. I left the jar on the beach and rushed home as fast as I could. Then, sitting on my couch in my living room, I tried to turn on the phone. Nothing happened. It looked to be nearly in flawless condition though, so I tried simply charging it. The screen stayed black for a good 5 seconds after I plugged in the charger, but then the comforting light glowed on. There was a 4-digit passcode to get in, and my heart sank, realizing it could be a long time before I figured it out. I knew I could probably still sell the phone, but this wasn't about money for me, at least not until I figured out what was on this. I started optimistically, punching in the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, but that was incorrect. I stopped to think longer. Did I just want to go through sequentially? 1, 1, 1, 1. 1, 1, 1, 2? No, that would just take way too long. There must have been a better way. I flipped the phone over and examined the case. It was somewhat bejeweled, and I hypothesized that it might have belonged to a young girl. I went back to the passcode screen and typed in 1990, thinking I would work my way up through the birth years of a young girl. 1991, incorrect. I was locked out, having made 3 incorrect guesses in a row. I had to wait 300 seconds before I was allowed to try again, but I'm patient. You can't really be into metal detecting if you're not. I tried 1992 through 1994 and again was locked out. I was already starting to lose hope as the next 300 seconds passed by. 1996, 1997. To my surprise, the phone unlocked. But once I was in the phone, I had no idea where I wanted to start. I figured maybe I'll start with the photos. That might give me a better idea of who this belonged to, and what I might want to check out next. Interestingly, there only were about 50 photos and videos in the camera roll, and they were all from the last 10 days. The last entry in the photo gallery was a 2-hour-long video with a black thumbnail. Whoa, I thought. Let's start with something more palatable, and I scrolled all the way up to the top of the camera roll, 10 days ago. The video opened on a cute redhead. She was smiling big and talking to the camera vlog style, and right off the bat she told me pretty much all the context I needed to know. She was on the private island of a friend called Nick, somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. She planned to be there for a week and document the experience on her phone, since there was no Wi-Fi. She promised to share the experience with her viewers after the fact, when she got back to mainland. I flipped through the camera roll to see many photos of incredible tropical scenery and fine food. There was a video of the penthouse suite where she would be staying from the outside, high up in a very modern-looking building that looked somewhere halfway between a hotel and a mansion. And then another video from the inside of her suite, with Nick helping her bring her luggage in. The entire west wall of her suite was just curved windows, and for most of the video she was fawning over the breathtaking view of the ocean. There was a news broadcast playing in the background, which I thought was suspect. I paused on the 80-inch TV to take a look at the broadcast. It looked like a staticky weather report from Hawaii. I listened carefully to the choppy sound coming out of the TV on a second playthrough of the video. The broadcaster was talking about unusual storm activity traveling over the islands to the northeast. The man was saying that meteorologists had never seen anything quite like it. I had no idea which direction their private island was in relation to Hawaii. Looking outside the window in the girl's video, however, it was clear that that storm wasn't near them. I continued flipping through the camera roll and saw videos and photos of more beautiful scenery, the small runway and private jet they had flown in on, and other gorgeous, modern and classic features of the gardens surrounding. And then there was nothing left but the 2-hour-long video with the black thumbnail. I almost felt nervous to click on it, but I mentally prepared and went on. This video opened not to the red-haired girl, but to a view of the ocean at dusk. I recognized the curved glass of the penthouse room the red-haired girl was staying in, and from the heavy, female breathing, I assumed it was still her taking the video. She was pointing the camera at some massive storm clouds on the horizon. They were dark like rain clouds, but they floated high in the air. They were churning and swirling like a hurricane or a tornado. But looking at the tops of the palm trees and other plant life on the island, there was no evidence of there being any wind. The girl started to speak, but was cut off by her own gasp as lightning emerged from the center of the strange cloud formation. 5 strikes in a row, in perfect rhythm, hitting one spot in particular in the ocean. "What's going on?" The girl sounded terrified and seemed to be in tears. "We need to leave." The screen became a blur, and there was the sound of walking, followed by running through the halls of the mansion. I couldn't see anything, and then there was a muffled conversation between the girl and a male voice, who I assumed to be Nick. She was pleading with him to leave the island and trying to explain to him that something strange was coming. He rebutted, saying that it was just a tropical storm and that the house had survived dozens of them since construction. Furthermore, he emphasized that flying was the only way off the island, and that they couldn't fly in a storm. She begged him to at least come to her room and take a look at it. Nick seemed to do so begrudgingly, following her lead as she pulls the phone up to look where she was going once again. They got back to her suite, and she ran to the window. Sure enough, the clouds were still swirling overhead in that one spot, and Nick was like, "Yeah, that's just a storm." He started chuckling to himself. The redhead did not sound amused. But there it was, 12 lightning strikes in a row this time, in sequence, timed perfectly, hitting the same spot as before. I could hear Nick say under his breath. A massive horn sounded, seeming to rumble up through the water. It sounded like the horn of a transport truck, but increase its size 100-fold. The sun had set, and there was only a bit of twilight left in the sky when an enormous blue light suddenly glowed up from under the water. "My God, what is that?" the girl exclaimed under her breath. The light grew larger as it seemed to get closer to the surface of the water, and the closer it got, the more its shape resolved into that of an eye. As you might guess, the surfacing was taking place right under the spot where the lightning had struck. The girl was once again pleading to Nick to try to get them out of there, but he was frozen, unable to respond. His mouth hung open dumbly as he stared into the ocean. The camera panned back to share his view, just as a giant creature was rising from the depths. It looked like it was being pulled out of the water by its sternum from an invisible thread. It definitely had the features of a deep-sea creature, outfitted with scales, flippers, gills, and whatnot. It looked like a giant green fish, but it had the torso and arms of an obese human man. It had the disturbingly narrow, long teeth of an anglerfish, and even had the trademark bioluminescent bulb sprouting from its forehead. It glowed in the same blue color as its single, giant eye. The creature's roar finally got the winds to stir, sending water droplets in to crack the glass of the window at breakneck speeds. It looked to be as tall as a skyscraper, at least 300 meters, and that was just the part they could see above the water. The Cyclopean horror appeared to notice them, or if not them, the island, and it took slow, gargantuan steps through the water towards them. The footage went blurry again, as both were clearly running in terror and screaming. I assumed Nick was making a break for the airplane, and the red-headed girl was chasing after him, pleading that they try to save as many people as possible. He tells her there's no time. There was a loud noise, which I assumed was an earthquake, and they both fell over. When the phone footage stabilized, an entire wing of the manor before them was gone, swept into the sea by the creature. It's already on top of them. The girl screamed as though she knew these were her last moments alive. She's in the kitchen and finds a glass jar drying on the counter and puts her phone inside. As she screwed the lid shut over it, the camera angle is facing up, where the monstrous, hideous face of the Cyclops is looming over the remains of the island. As it brought down its mighty fist, the jar containing the phone was launched high into the air. It flipped around, leaving the video incomprehensible, and when it stabilized, it looked to be kilometers away, falling into the ocean. In the distance, I could still see the fish monster Cyclops pounding away at the burning island, undoing the work of some ancient volcano. The jar and the phone landed in the water. I watched the entire rest of that clip. For the next 1 hour and 40 minutes, it's just the jar floating. Sometimes the camera shows the ocean below. Sometimes it shows the sky above. It seems to just drift away until the phone ran out of power. I just put the phone down, and I've just been sitting here for a moment. I'm speechless. I don't know what to do. I don't know if what I just saw was some sort of prank, but somehow the footage didn't seem surreal. As I record this now, I really still don't know what to make of it. Please, any suggestions would be welcome. Hey guys, thanks for listening to that story. Really enjoying some of these big cataclysmic level monster stories. The Cyclops was a request, by the way, so if you have your own classic monster from mythology or folklore request that you'd like me to write a story about, I'm pretty much down. Just know that I'll probably reinterpret it in my own way, like I did in this story. Subscribe and hit the bell for more original creepypastas every Thursday, and tune in on Sunday nights 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Nightmare Theater, an open book club for nightmares. You can also send me your nightmares to theforgottengrove@gmail.com if you would like me to read them on stream. And until next time, embrace the beautiful dark.